What's this? Crumbs of velvet breads on his shoulder says.
Ah, yes, I was wondering which one would break first. Your spirit or your body?
Elmo says you can learn voice impressions too.
A lot of people want to learn how to do voice impressions, but they're afraid to try, because they think they might sound stupid.
Fear is a path to the dark side. Much you have to learn in the ways of the voice impressions.
Let's not stand on ceremony here. I will initiate you.
Hello everyone, I'm Christopher Jethro. In today's particular video, I'm going to teach you how to do voice impressions. I can do about 100 different voices, but it took a lot of time and practice. And I'm going to teach you the tried and proven techniques that all voice impressionists use to learn any voice. The first thing I want to say is that voice impressions is a developed skill. It is not a talent. This means that anyone can learn them. It's not a talent that you're simply naturally born with. You can develop the skill over time. In other words, it does not matter how good you are at first. It doesn't matter if you're horrible at first. You can develop the skill over time if you're simply willing to practice and give it time and patience. How exactly do you learn voice impressions? It's actually extremely simple. All you have to do is listen to the voice and practice it. It's that simple. Listen to the voice and listen to it again and again and again so you really know the voice, and keep attempting to do it. Each time you hear the original voice, you're going to realize how you're doing it a little bit differently, and you'll continue to make little adjustments and corrections so that you keep attempting to make your voice sound a little more accurate each time. This is a slow period of progress where you're making little baby steps of progress, but it is that simple. Listen to the voice and keep practicing it. That leads me to my next point. The only secret that rings true for all good voice impressionists is lots and lots of practice. It usually takes several months to learn a single voice, and by that I mean it takes several months to get good at it. And when I say it takes several months to learn a new voice, I'm talking about on an average basis. There will be some voices which you'll be able to pick up much more quickly than others. For myself, it took several months to learn my first few voices. There are a handful of voices which I picked up either near instantly or in a matter of days or weeks, but then there were a lot of voices which probably took on average 4 to 7 months to get decent at them. The progress in voice impressions is unfortunately very slow, so the voices may sound quite terrible at first, but you will get better in time if you simply keep practicing. Don't forget, lots and lots of practice. That's the only secret. It will never matter how bad the voices sound at first. You will make progress. Now I have 7 tips for you about learning and practicing voice impressions. The first tip is find a convenient way to keep listening to the voice, whether you want to keep replaying it on a DVD movie that you have, or whether you want to go to YouTube and keep playing a clip from that movie so you can keep hearing the voice. It's very important that you can remember what the original voice actually sounds like. You need to hear that voice in your mind before you practice it every time. So by listening to the voice as often as you can and knowing what it really sounds like, you can begin to correct yourself wherever you're practicing it at. The second tip is to be consistent and patient. Like I said earlier, it takes a long time and a lot of practice to get decent at some voices, oftentimes several months. People give up way too early on trying to learn a new voice. Don't be like that. The third tip is to practice anywhere you can. This can actually be a casual hobby. Believe it or not, many voice impressionists, including myself, often simply practice in the shower. 5 to 15 minutes each day, being a little goofy in the shower as you practice different voices. It works. It can be a casual hobby that you do while doing other things. You could even practice while you're driving in the car, as I frequently do. You know, if somebody cuts you off on the road, you could go Donald Duck mode.
What's that idea?
Tip number 4, record and listen to your own voice. Your voice can sound different to you than the way other people hear it, so it's important that you record your voice and then listen to that recording. If you're really serious about it, you might even want to consider getting a good podcasting mic, but that's not really necessary. You can simply use your phone. Another reason you want to record your voice is so that you can go back and listen to those old recordings. This allows you to monitor your progress. I do this with any new voice I'm learning. This way, after I've been practicing it for several months, I go back and listen to how it sounded when I was trying it in my first month of practice, and then it encourages me to see the progress. Tip number 5, and this is a very important one. try a wide range of voices. The reason why is because some voices will be easier or harder than others depending on your vocal cords. For example, voices of the opposite gender are particularly difficult. So you want to try as many voices as you possibly can, and just have fun with this process as you do it. Because as you begin to practice all these different voices, then you're finally going to discover the voices which you are able to do, or at least you feel that you're making progress on them much more quickly than the other voices you were trying. And when you do discover those voices, it's going to make you feel encouraged. There are definitely voices that you can do, you simply haven't found them yet. And the only way you're going to discover them is when you keep trying a wide range of voices. My sixth tip is to add some emphasis or exaggeration to the voice. I have often noticed that if you try to do the voice very realistically, a lot of people do not readily recognize the voice. So you want to add at least a little bit of emphasis and exaggeration to the voice so that it's more easily recognizable and also a little bit more entertaining. The truth is, all good voice impressionists exaggerate the voices at least a little bit, whether or not they're doing it consciously. My seventh and final tip is to listen to how other voice impressionists do the voice. This is because all good voice impressionists add at least some emphasis or exaggeration to the voice, as I mentioned earlier. So when you listen to other people practicing the voice, you can hear how they're drawing out certain nuances of the voice. By listening to how other people do the voice, it will help you better recognize the nuances and characteristics of that voice, such as how to master a particular accent. This also helps give you a more well-rounded idea of what that voice should probably sound like and what it sounds like to other people. Finally, it helps inspire you to keep practicing because you know that if someone else was able to develop that skill, that you're going to be able to do it too, because at the end of the day, it is simply a developed skill. Well guys, that concludes how to do voice impressions, my guidelines and tips. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and you can feel free to subscribe if you want to continue to learn new and interesting things on my channel.